Now let us work on 3.2, creating a product group. And here, what we are doing is we want to first see the big picture. And we are creating a product group, meaning that we are putting, the products that we created so far into one group, and we can manage them together. Because each product group might have a separate line, and it's easier for production to manage that. So to do that, what we want to do is we want to follow this directory. So let's go to product group. So that's under logistics, and then production, and then SOP, and product group, and create, right? So that's MC84, or you can double click on this one, or you can just type here MC84, and that will lead you to product group. And here we are entering our data number and RFI bike group. And the second thing is 22 rich front bike group. And plant number is DL22. So let's not do that, just type DL22. In my case, that is it. And in your case, it could be DL10 or 15. It depends on your product group number. And base units each EA. And it's material, and select enter. And then we are on 3.24. Here we expect sales, therefore production of standard and commuter models to be split 25 to 75%, because certain product is more in demand than the other product. So let's enter this data. First of all, we know that RFRT 1000-22, that's mine, right? So you don't want to put others for yours, and that's DL22. And aggregate factor is 1, and 25% of sales is coming from this data. And second one is RFRT 2000-22, and again that's DL22, and 75% of the production is coming from there. And let's save the data first, and we are back to the line. Let me check if it is done all right. So MC86 change. If you feel like you have made a mistake, you can go back and see if they were saved correctly. It was saved correctly, so I can safely go back there. So if you have made a mistake, then you can use this change function and change the proportion to 30% or 80%. Those things can be done there. Now we are on 3.3, forecast sales for a product group. So we did forecast sales for a product itself for IFRT 1000 and 2000. Now we are creating forecast sales for a product group, which is both of them together. And to do that, let's follow this directory: logistics, production, and SOP, and planning. So planning, let's go to planning now, and for product group, and change MC82. Enter your product group at the initial screen. This is 22 RF bike group that I've just created, and use active version and click on that. Then you'll be on here, 3.3. There we are going to enter this data. So let's take some time to read what this question is saying. This brings up the planning table that we have done right here. Note that the table is titled Change Rough Cut Plan. Here, Change Rough Cut Plan. Even though this is not what APIX would consider a rough cut capacity plan, unfortunately, SAP does not always use the standard APIX terminology. It can be a little bit different. So it's always important to understand what the transaction does and does not do and we are not just relying on the former screen title. What we are going to do here is to come up with a simple sales and operations plan. We'll forecast sales for the product group and then come up with a product production plan. So let's first start the forecasting process using the menu. So we go to menu and then create sales plan, edit, and create sales plan. So the screen is a little bit different, so I hope you understand that. And then go to forecast right here. Okay, you've done that. Then on the next step, here we have to enter the data. So number one is enter this month and this year. That's 2020. And enter previous month and next year. So November and 2021. That's done well. Historical data, enter this month 3 years back. So 12 and 3 years back. So 2019, 18, 17, right? So we gotta go to 17. And then here, enter previous month this year. So previous month and this year to 2020. So historical data is set there, and that's 0 and 60, that's good. And to automatic model selection, and then we go to forecasting. And here we already entered all the data when we create the forecasting model, and we are going to continue to go to forecasting option. Okay, here we are 3.37. Your forecast will differ later because I am doing this work in December 2020, and here are the things that you can do here. You see that the process calculated the forecast for this month, December 2020, but since we are already partway through this month, we are not going to include a forecast for this month in our sales plan. Rather, we are going to include it from next year. Notice it calculates math for the last year, and our forecast looks pretty good. And again, your exact number will differ since the dates will differ. So I hope that you understand that. So let's see the graphics. Let's see what happened. And then the graphic shows right. So forecast and periods are there, and forecast corrected. You can see how they differ. They do not differ that much. Okay, those things we can see. We saw that. If you want to see it again, you can click on it again. Then it will, populate it, and you can see that, right? So the forecasting is being done there. It's very similar, but your graph will be different because the periods are different. Okay, so you have done that. If you have done that, now let's click on this enter. Then my data is entered, and you can see all the sales data forecasting is entered. If you scroll to your right, you will see them too. So if you have done that, you're going to save it. Okay, so that's 3.3.11.